Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Here I am again with my trusty notes, which are unreadable, even most of the time by me. Really, I just have to kind of remember what I wrote because sometimes even I can't read it, but I'm going to do my best. Today's subject. What is today's subject? I'm not quite sure how to title it. I won't say dumbing down, but an aging down. Maybe that would be the right phrase. An aging down of America, of the adults in this country. They seem to be reverting to childhood, a lot of them, or not even growing up in the first place, which is very distressing to me. I'll tell you what triggered this thought. Well, it had actually been building up inside of me for quite a while, just observing people in daily life. But the final straw, I guess we could say, is, well, two things. I saw a video or a news report about a giant stadium type of event, very similar to the event I watched many years ago at the Beacon Theater in New York. This was the Sugar Ray Marvin Hagler fight, where we all gathered in the Beacon Theater, which is a moderately sized venue on the Upper West Side of New York City. But this was happening, I'm sure, all over the world, where you had a giant screen and you watched, it was a pay TV event, is basically what it was, but it was a boxing match. Now I see, or I saw recently, it was some people playing video games, computer games, people just playing computer games, and that was on the screen, the play. Like, I guess it would be more similar to a chess match where you see the chess board up on the screen and you watch the moves. But these were grown, well, not old men, young adults, I guess you would say, playing video games, and you had this giant stadium filled with people just watching this video game. And I'm sure there was a lot of money at stake. I'm sure the people who watched the game paid a lot of money to see it. The thought to me was, why are grown people playing video games? Why is it such a big thing? I also saw a TV commercial. I forgot what it was for, some kind of cereal or something, where somebody is eating a healthy breakfast to be ready for some event, and you figure it's some kind of physical sport, but it's to play a video game. I really don't understand it. Maybe from my perspective of 67 years old, but I don't see the adults playing video games as a healthy thing, at least the attention that they're giving to it. It just boggles my mind. And then we have the new age of graphic novels, where you have these giant, I guess they cost quite a bit of money, and they're a little bit thicker and the paper is glossier, but they're basically comic books. So you have grown men reading comic books, and so as not to seem like they haven't grown up, they call them graphic novels. But I got news for you. They're comic books. I've looked at a couple of them. I could only read maybe a page or two because it's all pictures and a very little bit of dialogue. It's childish. It's for children. And we have adults. I can understand adults writing them. Adults write children's books. Children don't write children's books, except with a couple of exceptions that I recall. But to read comic books, it just seems to me a regression. You also have movies now. You used to have weighty subjects, complex topics. Now you have, when was the last time you saw a Martin Scorsese movie or a Francis Ford Coppola? It's all superheroes, which is basically, again, comic books. In fact, the best writing I've seen is really The Sopranos and Mad Men, Game of Thrones, except for this last season, I understand was not that great. And I haven't watched the whole show. I have to be honest about that. I'm one of these guys, I just go on YouTube and I just wait till the show is over, then 2 days later I can see all the good bits. They put them on YouTube, so I don't have to sit in front of a TV set for an hour. In fact, I don't even have a TV set. That's how off I am on TV. It makes more sense to read, or any news you want you can get on the internet. But you have these superhero movies doing fantastic business, and then you read these critiques of these movies, which makes no sense to me. Even years ago, or the idea of a rock critic. Rock music is just pop music, but they treat these genres, pop music, rock music, and then superhero movies, as if they're classical music. They take it just as seriously and they analyze it in the same way. Instead of bringing the level of the culture up, or at least keeping it where it's always been or has been for most of my life, they just bring the criticism down and treat, for instance, rap music, which for whatever its entertainment value may be, is not very complex music. I play music myself, and you have basically a 4-bar, or not even that, a 2-bar drum beat and a riff that just repeats over and over and over again. Essentially, what they do is they take, well, when you listen to a pop song, there's a part of the song called the hook. You listen for, we'll say the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. So they go, I want to hold your hand. You know, that's the hook. There's certain little parts of the song that are the hook that you wait to hear. What rap music does very often is they just take the hook, the 2-bar hook, and they just repeat that over and over and over and over again. So the song doesn't really go anywhere. It just starts and then it goes until it ends. Maybe there's a shift in the rhythm, a slight break, but you don't have the bridge and the verse and the chorus, and you don't have the complexity of instrumentation either that you used to have, which is something I guess you could almost, well, the Beatles, they started out as a simple combo, the drums, bass, guitar, and a rhythm guitar, but they later started adding other instruments in their music. As their skills improved, the music got more complex. Plus they got a big assist from George Martin, their producer, who was a classically trained musician. So you put the two together and you got some really interesting, complex music. But unfortunately, the other side of that, they and the Beach Boys, they made the 4-piece combo so ubiquitous that you don't really have the complexity that you had. You don't have a George Gershwin anymore. You don't even have a Burt Bacharach, who was probably the last, I guess you'd call it a throwback or continuing the tradition of George Gershwin. Really interesting, innovative melodies and arrangements. And now to see how this is affecting our lives outside of culture, we move into the political sphere, and we see some people advocating lowering the voting age to 16. Now I can tell you, because I was 16, I'm 67 now, but I was 16, I can tell you when you're 16, you think you know everything. I thought I knew everything. Then you get a little bit older, then older and older, and then you realize you didn't really know so much. It takes years to become actually mature. Some people, I guess, are mature at a very early age, but wisdom requires time, it requires experience. The idea of a 16-year-old voting for the President of the United States, to me, is just, I can't even put it into words. It's just insane. Well, that's a good word. It's insane, because no insult meant to any 16-year-olds who may be watching this, but you have a lot of growing up and experiencing to do. The logic of these people proposing a 16-year-old voting age is that 16-year-olds are affected by decisions that the president and the Congress make. Well, okay, that's true, but you can say that of an 8-year-old too. So why not lower the voting age to 8 if that's going to be your logic? The people that would say that's silly would say, well, an 8-year-old is too immature. Well, so is a 16-year-old, and I would even argue that an 18-year-old is not mature enough to vote. It used to be 21. When I was 18, I was clamoring to have the voting age lowered to 18, and it was when I was 19, but now having the years since then to look back, really 21 makes the most sense. You have people today waiting longer and longer to get married. Part of it's the economy, part of it is women wanting to have careers before they settle down and get married, but a lot of it, unfortunately, and I think there are women watching this who will attest to this, they cannot find marriageable men because you have men that are just boys. They haven't grown up. So you don't have anybody to marry because you're not going to marry a child. And that's basically what you're doing in a lot of these cases. And that's it. I'm going to wind up. That's my thought for today. Thumbs up if you like the video. Let the world know that you like the video. Let YouTube know that you like the video. If you think there are people that could benefit from the video, then by all means share it. There's a little sharing function underneath the video that you can use to share the video. If you have some comments, there's a comment section that you can put your comment in below the video. And just because it's called a comment section doesn't mean it has to be only comments in there. If you have a topic you want me to cover, then put that in the comment section too. If you have a Twitter account, why not tweet the URL to this video and other videos and my channel out to your followers, invite them to tweet as well, to retweet, I guess we would call it, invite them to retweet, and finally subscribe. Then you will not have to suffer the tragedy of missing a future video. That's all. See you soon. Bye.